Hi, Mystery Writer. This is the Mystery Writer Studio, and today I want to talk about research, what it means for you and what it means for your reader. So let's just get the first thing out of the way. That is your reader. Your reader doesn't care how much research you did. They don't care how smart you are. Um, it's all about making the story work. So it's research supplies those details that bring your story to life. They supply verisimilitude. You may research how a particular weapon works, or the streets in a city, or the shops, or buildings in a neighborhood. Or if you're writing about a specialized world, you may have details of dog breeding or art restoration that you need to get up to speed with to bring into your story. But the 80-20 rule applies to research that you do. And you're going to know much, much more about the subject than you actually put into your story. So you want to base your guideline of what to put in your story on discernment, your discernment, and the details that your story requires. That's what your research is for. So just, curb your enthusiasm. If you're tempted to share all your knowledge with the reader, um, you just keep the details pertinent to the story and know where to draw the line. Um, a colleague was helping me research details about the coroner in Sonoma County, California, and the building is old and tucked away on a side street. And he was enthusiastic about the history of the building because it does have a history in the town. And it had been part of a hospital and then a nursing school and then a laundry. And this was great information, and I thanked him for sharing it with me. But none of it was necessary for the story. And so, unless my protagonist or one of the characters was a history buff, and my protagonist isn't a history buff, all that history doesn't work in this story. So, one thing you can do is let your character be your guide to what research you're going to use and put in your story and what you're going to leave out. Um, Your protagonist sleuth is your reader's guide to the mystery, to your story, to solving the puzzle, right? And your reader wants facts that pertain to your sleuth and the story, but not extra facts. If you bog down the story with all your knowledge, you'll keep the story from moving forward. When I write historical stories, I keep the details pertinent to what the protagonist senses. I was just talking with a story development friend of mine about this yesterday. Um, all the senses, what they see, what they hear, what they say, etc. And that's the limit of the details. You don't want to plunk in your knowledge in a paragraph. So, say, in 1957, local police posted signs on empty lots that had marijuana growing in them and, told people to keep off, et cetera, et cetera. That doesn't happen now. But you don't need to know that detail unless your story's set in 1957 and that a character walks across an empty lot with that sign posted. So just keep it pertinent to the story. I find that limiting the research facts to what the protagonist senses keeps me from stuffing unneeded details into the story. So, what you're doing is you want to write a story, not research findings. You're not writing a scholarly paper, okay? You're writing a story. And, um, and you can consider research as a tool to engage your reader. That's its job in your story. Readers want a story. A rich story includes details as your protagonist experiences their surroundings and interacts with other people. So, how much you know is not as important as how you use what you know in your story. Instead of that long descriptive passage showing how much you know, spread your research details throughout the story. So you have many opportunities to add research details. So I'll give you some examples. There's setting. Your protagonist uses an object that you need to know something about, and your reader needs to know about it because it's an unfamiliar object. Your protagonist travels from one place to another. You need to know about each of those places. All right. Um, Cultural customs that work or don't work for your character. A meal, something as simple as a meal. All right. It's going to tell the reader a lot about where they are, both in time and place. Transportation. How do people get about in your story? Um, what's in your character's home, uh, and marriage and death customs, and the murder weapon, and politics, and your character's feelings and reactions to the surroundings, and also all of your supporting characters. Those are many, 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 many places where you can drop in research details rather than having a long narrative paragraph. Um, The idea is to make your reader feel like they're in the story. Knowledge for knowledge's sake takes the reader out of your story. So you use the broad base of all that research that you do, but you use it through the details that you sprinkle throughout your story. As the author of the book, you control what the reader senses with accurate details. And research is your great big huge detail pool, and you can pull from it details that fit in a particular scene. All right. The broad base gives you the array of information, and your role as the author is to choose the details pertinent to the story. This is where I mentioned discernment earlier. This is it. You choose the details that are pertinent to the story. Your reader will enjoy learning about your background research when you use the details to enhance the story. Maybe something they're not familiar with, and you bring it into the story, and it's something that your protagonist picks up and they've never experienced it before. And how does it feel in your protagonist's hand? Is it cold? Is it smooth? All those things. All right. But your reader needs to feel that information coming from the story. Readers may not be able to articulate how they enjoyed all your information. So if you add research details appropriately, your reader may not know how they learned so much. And it doesn't matter, all right? That's because you've helped them internalize the details by making them part of the story. So reward your reader. Readers love new information. They do, right? And they love to see mystery writers educate them about something. And the best way to deliver that information is by integrating the details. And through that process of reading your mystery, following your sleuth as they solve the puzzle, You introduce the story world through that strategic information placement. So if you find yourself trying to explain, either through narration or character dialogue, go back and rethink that scene. Rethink how you can bring your research in with details without explaining. All right. Explaining is telling, and readers are going to get bored. All right. All right. So use the novel details that work, those research details that work in your story, um, and your story is going to show your reader how the details fit. So give your character reactions to those details. Your reader won't think of thanking you for keeping them in the story, but they will appreciate a story well told. Okay, I hope that helps. It can be really tempting to add a lot of details to show readers how much you know, and it slows down the story, and you don't want to do that. Remember, we're writing genre fiction. The readers are there for one thing, to solve that mystery puzzle, and so we want to give them that with details, but details that fit. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next week.